Hey guys, Equinox, and it's going to be kind of a short video, but it's basically just going over Cyrce, Circlet, what gems to use, and our new stat priority. We're going to go over the stat priority first, then we're going to go into the ring, and then we're going to go into a little bit of changes on trinkets and embellishments. So, stat priority, what has changed? So before we used to run crit verse, high crit, high verse, pretty much all we ran, we ignored mastery. Now with the ring, that changed a little bit, and even after the ring, I think it's just better. So I will say at near max gear level, this is what I would run. If you're still kind of low, and by low I mean like 634, 635 range, I would probably stick to crit verse still. But right now, I think the best is verse over crit equals mastery. Right now, my percents are 24% crit, 21% verse, 16% mastery. And then as little haste as possible. You really don't want haste. That's because we're going to be running double high tolerance, and we're going to be running Shadow Pain, which is Veteran's Eye, which is a crap ton of passive haste. So you really don't want any haste on gear. You're going to have required haste on gear just from like the gloves and legs, or the shoulders and legs, whichever one you have. But that is the new stat priority. And basically the theory behind it is just one, mastery scales your abilities harder than pretty much anything else. It scales your Celestial Brew much harder than verse does. It scales all your damaging abilities harder. And crit, while it is very strong, trinkets can kind of make up for it. So using Deadeye Spyglass, which I use pretty much all the time, it's not required by any means, but it's pretty good. And you can also use Empowering Crystal of Anubicage. This trinket, extremely recommended, highly recommended, extremely high uptime on stats. It's an average of like 40 to 45% uptime on my keys. Highly recommend that one. Anyway, on to the ring. So there are two required citrons and then one varied citron. So the two required one, this is the reason for the mastery change. Fathom Dweller's Rune Citron, this grants a flat amount of mastery. In addition, all other citron effects are increased based on your total mastery. This is your numerical mastery, not your percentage mastery. So if you have Training of Nizao, this will not be like 15% of that 15% mastery will not like go into your Fathom Dwellers. And then the other required one is Legendary Skipper Citron. This is basically a proc all the other citron effects. This can proc the stats. They're like 14, 15-second duration ones. And it can do all stat. It can do highest secondary, and it can do more mastery. And that mastery will scale your other gems, etc. So that can be kind of a feedback loop. And then the varied one is either Stormbringer's Rune Citron or Thunderlord's Crackling Citron. And Stormbringer's is all stat. And then Thunderlord's is a damage proc. The damage proc one, you run in two keys, Dawnbreaker and City of Threads. The reason you run in those two keys is because they're very low mob density. They're very high in single target. Dawnbreaker has a bunch of mini bosses. City of Threads has a bunch of mini bosses. And City of Threads just has a lot of bosses in general and beefy mobs that you want to take down. And Dawnbreaker, like I said, they have all the mini bosses. They have very beefy long bosses. Like the last boss is like 5 minutes. And they have a bunch of mini bosses. And they have lieutenant mobs. They have the tacticians. They're very tanky. You have the very last guy. And you have the commanders in the first area. Like I said, just a lot of beefy mobs. So gets a lot of value. And then all the other dungeon, all stat is significantly better. So highly recommend the all stat in every other dungeon besides City and Dawnbreaker. That's pretty much it for the ring. There's really not much to it. It's just get all the citrons, and then it's just passive from there. Not really much interaction. Now let's talk about trinkets, weapon enchant, and set like embellishment, see what has changed. So before, my trinket priority list was basically like Swarm Lords, Refracting, Aggression Module, Deadeye Spyglass. I think that was about it. Nothing too crazy. And now it's kind of changed. I think Empowering Crystal of Anubicage is insanely good. Deadeye Spyglass is still really good. Swarm Lord's Authority is good. Refracting Aggression Module is good. All those are pretty good, and they're all like high value. Harvester's Edict is also really good because that's numerical mastery. This will also scale your citron gems. So that one's a lot better than it used to be. And if you have a weak aura to track the buff up time and you're pretty good at paying attention to the balls, that one's really good. So let's go over embellishments really quick. So embellishments used to only be Adrenal Surge class plus a Writhing Armor banding. That's the belt that gives you agility and you lose mastery. This one I think loses a little bit of value with the Fathom Dwellers Rune Citron, since it's not like minus percent mastery. This is minus numerical mastery. This is pretty bad. I would probably recommend, if you have a crafted two-hander, to run the Ascension embellishment. This is the random stat proc. This one's really good. High uptime. Again, it's the same thing as like Empowering Crystal of Anubicage. It's random stat, but it is very, very high uptime. And then I would run Writhing Armor banding on either your boots or bracers. Ideally bracers or cloak, but whichever one you can afford. And then if you have a 639 BIS two-hander, then you can run a ring, like you can run Binding of Binding if you want, or you can just keep running Adrenal Surge class. The loss of mastery is only 620, I believe, if you run Writhing Armor banding, so not too bad. But yeah, that's about it. That's pretty much all there is to go over. This is the precursor to the how to do damage video, so basically all this information is just a baseline for what you'll need to deal damage as Brew going into the new season. I will also be going over the new season stuff after I do the how to do damage video. So the how to do damage video is coming out next, which will be in a day or two, as it's going to be quite a lot of information. This will basically be useful info for the rest of the expansion, barring a rework, assuming we don't get a major rework. And yeah, that'll give you a lot of helpful info, and it'll help you learn how to do damage in M+ in general, not just as Brew. But it'll be very tailored to Brew. It'll have rotation specifics and everything like that. And then we'll give you guys some information about Season 2 and how I think the tier set is and how we're looking. Yeah, have a good one, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for the channel support. I appreciate you guys so much. And I cannot wait to start streaming again. Peace out, guys. Take care.